Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be looking at some of the common errors that I see when I'm both listening to students and looking at students' work. And these errors are linked to the way that tenses are formed. Now, to be able to correct those errors, there are a few things that you need to understand. And the first thing you need to understand is what we are speaking about when we speak about the tenses. Okay? So basically, when you are writing, you will either be writing in the past tense, in the present tense, which is now, or in the future tense, which is something that hasn't happened just yet. Now, because English isn't that simple, it isn't just a case of writing in either the past, the present, or the future, because each of those tenses has different subtenses. Okay, so within the past tense, you have the past simple, the past progressive, the past perfect, and the past perfect progressive. That is exactly the same with the present. You've got present simple, present progressive, present perfect progressive, and exactly the same again with the future tenses. Now, today, I'm not going to speak too much about why those different tenses are used, because there are separate videos that I've already recorded on YouTube about each of those tenses. But what we will be looking at is making sure that those tenses are formed correctly. And there are a few words that you need to understand and that fit with the idea of forming tenses. Because when we talk about forming the tenses, we are speaking about the way that you make the verb change. Okay? So when we make the present simple tense, we are using one of the 5 verb forms. We are using the root verb or the base verb. Okay, and these are words that I will be using today. I will be using the term base verb, the third person singular verb, the present participles, past tense verb, and past participles. So I am just going to quickly explain what those words mean, because if you haven't a clue what those words mean, you will struggle with the bit that we are doing later on. Okay? So, as I briefly mentioned, the root verb. Now, the root verb or the base verb, it is used when we make the present simple tense. And that is basically, if you look in a dictionary for a verb, and that is what you will find. You will find the base verb. So, eat, shop, cook. They don't have any endings added to them, and they are used when we make the present simple tense. Okay, the other way that we make the present simple, if we are speaking about a third person, so he, she, or it, they are singular and they are third person singular. So you can't say he eat because it doesn't make sense. So what you need to do is you need to use the third person singular verb and you need to put the S on the end. So you would say he eats or she eats. Okay, so that is what we are talking about when we speak about the third person singular verb. The next verb form is the present participle. Now, these are used a lot. And sometimes you need to be really careful with this, because sometimes a word with ing on the end is used as a present participle to make the progressive tense. Sometimes it is used as something called a gerund, and we will look at gerunds in a separate session because they are totally different from present participles. So present participles, it is when you are putting ing onto the end of a verb, jumping, eating, cooking, swimming, And you use that when you make the past progressive or the past perfect progressive and the present perfect progressive and future perfect progressive, or any of those progressive tenses. Okay, and basically you would say, I am running, he is cooking, she was sleeping. So that is how you are creating the progressive tenses. Okay, then the toughest one is this one, really, because when you create the past tense, there are a few different ways that you can do it. Because the past tense, if the verb is regular, and by regular we mean if the verb follows the rules, okay? And what that means is if the verb follows the rules, you just put ed on the end of it. So played, jumped, cooked. That is a regular verb, okay? And you just put ed on the end of them. If the verb is irregular, this is where things start getting tricky, because you just can't put ed on the end of it. So you can't say I eated, because that doesn't make sense. So the past tense verb for eat would be I ate, okay? And this is where English gets a bit confusing, because not only do we have past tense verbs that are used to make the past simple, we also have something that is called a past participle. And your past participles, they kind of follow a similar rule to past tense verbs, as in they are regular or irregular. And regular past participles, they end in ed. So played is a past tense verb, but it is also a past participle. Cooked is a past tense verb. It is also a past participle. But if we come to something like eat, the past participle isn't eated. So you would have eat is your base verb, ate is your past tense verb, eaten is your past participle. Okay, and you will just need to learn all of those past participles because they don't always follow the rules, but I tend to learn them in groups. So you would have swim, swam, swum, drink, drank, drunk. You would learn them so that you have got groups that follow certain rules. So ride, rode, driven, drive, drove, driven. So they are following group rules, okay? And you would use these past participles with the auxiliary verbs had, has, and have. So that is when you are creating the perfect tenses. Okay. And like I mentioned, we're not going to speak too much about the different tenses today. We're looking mainly at the errors. So those of you that have the sheets, we're going to look at the top part of the sheet first of all. And what we are looking for is we are looking for the verb part of it, and we're looking to see where is the error within it. And this first one is one that I hear so often within creative writing classes. I think I hear it virtually 2-3 times a day when I'm speaking to people, and I ask, oh, what have you written? And they respond to me with, I've wrote. And I say, no, you haven't. And they'll say, yeah, I've wrote it. But they are forming their tenses wrong. And if you break down the I've into the I, which is your pronoun, and the have, so you're breaking down the contraction, you wouldn't say I have wrote, because that is just not right. So what you would say is I have written. And this is when you are speaking about something that you have just done and you're telling someone about something that you've very recently done. If your parents are asking you, what did you do at school? You would simply say, I wrote, rather than I have written. So for this, because it is a recent action, you are using the present perfect, okay? So what we're doing, we're correcting the error and we are putting the tense in that box at the end. And the next one is something that I read an awful lot when I'm looking at writing, and it isn't necessarily that they've went to the park. It is this part here where it says he has went. Now, again, it is the wrong use of the verb, because think about your verb tables. Went is a past tense verb. If you've got has, you don't need a past tense verb, you need a past participle. And you would say he has gone, not he has went. Okay, so this part here, we need to change the went to gone. And this again is the present perfect. Now, the next part is an error that I see with the younger children in particular, and it is forming the verb incorrectly. So the bit that we need to look at here, it was PE and he swimmed in the pool. He didn't swimmed. This is the error. It's the way that the verb has formed, and it needs to be he swam in the pool. Okay. 1 minute, let me check the spelling on this. Then that verb there is a past tense verb, so the tense of that sentence is the past tense. Okay, and it is past simple that we are writing in. Now, the next one is something that I see quite a lot, and the problem with this is the fact that you've got a present tense and a past tense within the same paragraph. Now, what you need to make sure within your paragraphs, you are consistent with the use of tenses. You can't switch between past and present within a paragraph because it just sounds strange. Okay, so I've got two bits of the tense here. I've got is running, and I've got was. Now, the fact that they is running is totally incorrect anyway, because if I've got they, I don't use the auxiliary verb or the helper verb is. So if I'm putting this into the present tense, I would need to say they are running. Okay. Now, if I'm doing it all in the present tense, this bit at the end here, the was, is also wrong, because if you say they are running, you can't say she was first. So what I would need to do is change the was to is. Or if it is a story, you may want to keep it all in the past tense. So in which case you would say they were running and she was first. So it's entirely up to you whether you want to change it all to present tense or whether you want to keep it all in past tense. And it will depend very much on what you are writing. So what you have got here, the were running or are running is the progressive, and the bit underneath, she was first, that is the simple form, and it is up to you to decide whether past or present would make sense, because you would need to look at the whole paragraph for it to make sense. Now, the next one, I've been studying for my exams in September. It will very much depend on what time of year it is now, how long the studying has been going on for what tense you are going to use. Because some of you, it's likely that your exam isn't this September, so it's likely that you're going to kind of carry on studying afterwards. You might say, I am studying, because it's an action that started now and it is carrying on into the future. Or you might want to say, I have been studying for my exams in September. So it will depend on your personal situation as to which of those you choose. I think for most of you, it is likely that you would need to say, I am studying, because that studying is going to continue right up until those exams. So I would think for most of you, you would use the present progressive, okay? For some of you, let me just put the progressive bit there. For some of you, you would use I have been studying. And if you are using the I have been studying, that is the present perfect progressive, if you're using that version, okay? So you've got the present progressive for the am studying. If you are saying I have been studying, that would be the present perfect progressive. Okay, so I'll just put that bit on there as well, because some of you might find that that is your situation. Okay, now I also see this one written a lot. I don't hear it spoken a lot, but I see it written quite a bit. Not necessarily to do with the post, but I often see the hasn't came. And that just isn't right, because if you break down your contraction, it means has not. And if you have the has there, you can't say has came. You need to have your verb form correct, okay? So you would need to use the word come there. The post has not come yet. And that is the present perfect, okay? Now, what I'm going to do, I will just save the sheet that we've got on the screen so that I can send it through to your parents. And then we've got the last few that we will just take a quick look at. So let me save that and get rid of the drawings. Now, the next bit. Remember we said that we needed to be consistent with our tenses. So we can't switch between past tense and present tense within the one sentence. So this bit here, I seen my friend and went to the park. Now, I would stick with and went to the park, so I would put it in the past. So I would put I saw my friend and went to the park. Or you could say I had seen my friend and went to the park. But I think I would probably, with that one, stick with the past simple, because it is just showing the actions that have happened in the past. So with that one, I would stick with your past simple for it, rather than using the one there that is past perfect. Then we were on the way to the park. Suddenly the sky turns black. So notice what is happening there. If we were, on the way, suddenly the sky turns. So what's happened there? We are switching between past tense and present tense, and you need to use turned. So you need the past tense verb in there, okay? Or if you want to change the word so that it is present, we are on the way to the park, suddenly the sky turns black. But it all needs to be in the same tense. And I would put, because most stories are generally written in the past tense, I would put that as the past simple, okay? Now, the next bit, look at the way the contraction is structured, and I see this a lot within writing. He don't like. He don't like. Does that sound right? So think about the contraction. You don't say he do not like, because that is what you would say for I. I do not like doing my homework. Okay, but because it is third person, you need to say he does not like doing his homework, or you could use the contraction he doesn't like doing his homework. Okay, and that it is the past. Where is it? Present simple, because he does not like doing it. So and then this one here, she is going to school every day. Now the fact that it has this bit here, every day, if you do something every day, that is showing routine, okay? And if you know about your tenses, to show routine, you don't use the progressive tense. You would use the present simple to show routine. So we need to change that to she goes to school every day. So we are changing it to present simple, okay? And the next one, again, it is that issue of walks in and sat down. So we've got here, walks is present tense, sat is past tense, and you can't have one past tense verb, one present tense verb within the same sentence. So we need to look at the way that we're structuring it. So we could say the elderly man walks in and sits down, we could say, or we could change it to the elderly man walked, so that it is in the past tense and sits down. So this one, it is in the simple tense, but it is either past simple, or some of you will use it as present simple, okay? And the next one, the bottom one, is mainly what I hear from my overseas students that aren't in England. I hear them a lot saying, I am knowing the answer. No, you're not knowing the answer, because you don't need it in the progressive form. What you need to say is, I know the answer. Okay, so and just text me, what tense is it? Send me a message. What tense is that written in? So I know that it is simple. Is it past? Is it present? Is it future? What do you think? Oh, I'm getting a few different answers here. Right, we've worked out that it isn't future. Think about the tense of the verb to know? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of you have got it now. It is the present, yeah? So this one here, few of you had said past, but if you did it in the past, you knew, okay? So this bit here is actually present simple, okay? So well done to those of you that have worked that part out. What I will do now, I'm just quickly going to save this, and I'm going to say goodbye to those people that are watching on the recording. So I will see all of you again another time.